Welcome to Life by Design, episode 362. Welcome to Life by Design. I'm your host, Dr. Jamie Richards, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Dr. Horatio Jug.
Happy to be here, as always.
We are creators of Life by Design with many, many locations worldwide. Each week on the show, we discuss the principles and the practice of Life by Design. Today, we're talking about what is the standard? What's the gold standard in terms of fitness, in terms of health, in terms of comparing yourself to something? You know, the title here said, why would you register for the CrossFit Open? If you're thinking, well, I wouldn't register for the CrossFit Open, that's okay. There's still lots of good material for you on today's episode. Now, if you hear a little background noise, heads up. I'm sitting on a beautiful patio here in sunny Florida, FLA, and I can see the ocean, but I can also see the highway. So do my best. Hopefully it doesn't sound too bad on your end, Horatio.
Just sounds like you're bragging to me, Jamie.
No, that was the sound of cars. That wasn't me bragging. But we're talking about, you know, as an example here, registering for the CrossFit Open. I'm not registering for the CrossFit Open. I think you are. And again, different reasons why. But the point here of today's episode is it's okay to compare yourself. And, you know, we were talking in the pre-show, as always, about, you know, how the detractors would say, well, that's not good. You know, it really affects people's self-esteem. They feel bad about themselves. But, you know, you're kind of living out to lunch if you don't have a method of comparison. And the second question would be, you know, why is your self-esteem so damaged and so low that what somebody else does, gold standard or not, is affecting you to that degree?
It's ridiculous to think that one of the things that makes us humans, which is comparison, like literally concept formation, language, it's all formed by our mind comparing one thing to another, is so frowned upon. Yes, of course, you need to be comparing yourself. Here's the two things you need to be comparing yourself to at all things. And again, I'll talk about why I chose the CrossFit Open, because it's a really concrete, easy example. Number one, you need to be comparing yourself to your past self to see if you're improving. And by the way, actually improving at something that you're working your face off in is probably one of the best things, like in terms of the human experience. There's nothing, it's just pure joy when something comes together, something clicks, and you felt that work and that all that hard effort come together. It's beautiful. And the other thing you need to compare yourself to is the gold standard. What's the best, what's ideal. Mm-hmm. And the reason that I chose the CrossFit Games is the CrossFit Games for me anyways, and I recommend this for as many people as I possibly can, is it's just the standard of fitness for myself this year compared to last year.
Right.
As long as I can compete the games, like trust me, my numbers are far from anything impressive or anything reasonable. But as long as I compare where I was last year and I can say, I've improved here, and my number's a little bit better, I'm happy. And I'm doing this because fitness is a very important part of health, and health is one of my main values.
Right.
And again, the purpose of the episode is to get you to think about these things and have a way to measure them, because as Peter Drucker famously said, what gets measured gets managed, and what doesn't is up to arbitrary whims and beliefs and wishes, which is not accurate.
Well, you know, it reminds me, as you were talking there, about the quote from one of my favorite characters, Hannibal. I love it when a plan comes together.
Yeah, of course.
Do you know which Hannibal I'm talking about?
I don't.
Not Hannibal Lecter. Hannibal from the A-Team.
Oh, nice.
George Papard. I love it when a plan comes together.
I don't remember the A-Team well. I think I was a little bit young. I remember, but
you're so young,
man. You're 5 years older than me, man.
You're so young, just a little kid. But you're right. I do love it when a plan comes together. And I love what you said about the joy. You know, we've talked numerous times about, you know, what happens when you pursue your values, and how pursuing your values and the emotional response from pursuing your values is, you know, what you could deem happiness. And that's essentially what you're saying is, if you set a goal for something, hopefully it's something that is aligned with your values in some way, shape, or form, and achieving a portion of it, overcoming a challenge. You're right. There's nothing more enjoyable. You know, Dana and I were talking last week just about some of the challenges that come up in business. And, you know, business at the level that we're at right now is new for Dana. It's something that, you know, she's been taking over managing the cafe, and, you know, it comes with its own challenges and things that we face. And, you know, there's days where it's frustrating and, you know, she's like, all right, that's it. Let's just be done with this. And, the real joy is what's going to happen in 6 months or 4 months or a year when there's a breakthrough and you push through and you persevered and you get to actually feel the rewards of the success that happened because you didn't give up. And I think, fitness, CrossFit Games, anything else where there's a gold standard, that's what you're going to achieve from that. And I think that there's not enough of that going on. People are afraid to set goals. They're afraid to look in at where they were last year compared to this year. They're afraid to, look at the gold standard. I think that's one that really scares people and scares a lot of people from a health perspective as well. If we dive into the health concept here, we talk about CrossFit Games, but this applies to your blood work. It applies to the neurostructural testing that your corrective chiropractor should be doing. It applies to, running a food log today versus 6 months from now and a year from now. And, you can comment on this, Krisha, but I think it's amazing how many patients don't want to know, let's say, their blood pressure, or they don't want to know, and again, we're not saying this is the be all and end all of health, but they don't want to know how they compare on a sit to stand test or, what their lipid levels look like because, they're afraid of what it's going to tell them. But, being afraid of what it's going to tell you and actually taking information and using it to formulate new choices that are going to make your life better seems like a much better option than dying early. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. So, I mean, to the people that say, comparing yourself is a knock at your self-esteem. I mean, in the short term, yes, it definitely can be, but looking long term, self-esteem is derived from taking on challenges of life and meeting those challenges successfully, right? Like this is, what I believe one of the essential purposes of being a parent is, right? Is to instruct your children how to gain resilience and how to face the challenges of life, because we are going to face challenges in life, and how to meet those challenges successfully. And again, it's the same thing. I don't want to know what the test results say, or I'm scared, to hear back from my doctor because I don't want it to be this. And it's interesting, and I understand that, but it's also what happens after. So, okay, the test results come back and it's grave, it's stage 4 cancer or stage 3 cancer, or whatever it is. But it's amazing. There's a certain lack of clarity and calm that happens because now and now you can plan accordingly, right? So again, it puts, not knowing is chaos for the mind, right? Uncertainty breeds anxiety, and anxiety breeds inactivity and inaction. And it's just a bad place to be.
Yeah.
So knowing is always better. Right? You might not like the answers. It might be painful. It might hurt. I completely agree. And I've been there. But looking back, now when you remove yourself from that short term and you look back with hindsight, it's always the best thing that could have happened because you were able to plan accordingly.
Well, and I think that, the truth that we're avoiding here is that if you have stage 4 cancer or whatever other information the physician, trainer, or chiropractor is going to tell you, it's happening whether you gather the information or not.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
I mean, for me to stand outside in the rain and close my eyes and say it's not raining doesn't change the fact that it's still raining. And, if my day is predicated on whether it's raining or not, I probably want to know if it's raining and know what to do about that and make modifications as necessary. So maybe a place that you can talk about, Krisha, is let's say somebody's struggling with, we were just using this example with one of my clients from the chiropractic consulting side. Let's say somebody's struggling with wanting to look at numbers. They don't want to know what it says. Aside from the logical things that we're saying right now, of course, it's logical to us, but to them, they have their own reasons for not wanting to know. Where does that person start? What kind of things are they looking into before they can actually have at least some semblance of a breakthrough and realize that, all right, maybe I need to know this stuff in order to move forward?
Oh man, what a great question that is. I don't necessarily know, if I understand all the things necessary to help somebody in that situation. I can tell you where it started happening for me. The focus shifted from the outcome to the effort put forth by me.
Okay.
Right. So a good day became, I started looking, number one, you have to, right. It was less about, especially specifically speaking to this person from the consulting side. I was really miserable early in practice because I felt like I should be billing a certain amount, or I should be seeing a certain number of people. Mm-hmm. And now, you'll hear, well, yeah, you've made it all about you instead of making it all about them. I think that's true to a certain degree. But again, I was focused on the outcome. I can't necessarily control the outcome. Sometimes the outcome is at it, right? Like I can't control it. I could do everything right. I could, set up perfectly. I could execute perfectly. And from some stupid, dumb luck or something happening from outside of my control, everything could fail. So I would switch from looking at the outcome to looking at the effort of the work that I did with the people that were coming in, right? So it came more about, well, what does the perfect visit look like? And how can I provide something where I feel like I did an excellent job, right? Because I think that's a human need. People generally want to do a good job. But if you don't know what a good job looks like, you can't, again, if you don't have a standard for what the good, like, so the first thing is, take things away from the harvest and put it on the seed. Like, how many seeds are you going to plant today? Right? Instead of looking at the tomatoes and being like, holy smokes, I planted, I only got 20 tomatoes today. How about the goal becomes, I'm going to be happy if I can plant 100 seeds today.
Well, and I think you said something really insightful, and I don't want to let it pass, because I think the question was born out of, what about when somebody's struggling with the data and wanting to know the data? And you're actually saying, this works well with that, in the sense that you're not focusing on the data, right? You're focusing on the process, but you're also not absolving yourself of knowing the data, and the process that you're focused on is reverse engineered from knowing the data. You got it? It's like you have to know the data first, but you're not attaching yourself to, this hyper attentive, focus on the data. It kind of goes back to Dan Sullivan's gap concept, right? Is, every 90 days, we'll take a look back at where we were, we'll look forward at where we're going, and then we'll focus in on what we need to do today and tomorrow over the next 90 days to get, that much closer to that spot. And then we'll do the same thing and repeat that over and over. If we spend all of our time looking out into the future, the horizon is going to continue to move on us, and we're going to feel anxious and we're going to feel stress. And that's simply the gap, right? Because we're upset that we're not there yet, or we're looking back and we've got resentment that we didn't do whatever we set out to do. And so you still have to know the data. So we're not saying, don't know the standard, the gold standard, or have comparisons, but then don't put all your day-to-day focus on it. Just use it to reverse engineer a plan or a process, and then use that blueprint every day. So whether it be the perfect day, the perfect office visit, the perfect workout, the perfect date, the perfect meditation session, whatever it is, and then, give yourself the check marks and the pat on the back when you carry out the process versus, did I get the result today? Use those 90-day cycles to check in and use metrics to say, oh, that's interesting. Look at these things that changed. I lost 5 pounds, or I gained 10 pounds on a squat, or my blood work improved 10%, or I saw 10 more visits. Whatever the metrics are you're looking at, but just don't be so focused on them day in and day out that they keep you distracted from the processes that are actually going to get you the results in the end.
Yeah, the processes, and then again, what will start to happen is, and I have something really interesting to add. I hope it's helpful for people listening. But again, the focusing on the processes, because they're within your control, right?
Exactly.
I can, if we're looking to build a chiropractic practice, I can control how many times I post on social media. I can control if I write an ad. I can control if I go out into the community and meet 10 new people. Those are things that I can do, and I can still have to feel good about those things, because I know that eventually over time, those are going to give me the results that I want. Exactly. Now, it's interesting because I struggled. It was, I can't remember who I was talking to, but the phrase came up, I'm always happy. I'm just never satisfied. Right. Right. And I was like, that just sounds like a contradiction in my mind. Right. Because if I'm satisfied, then I'm happy. So where does the drive come to want to continue to create more? Because I would have these cycles where, like, and again, I think this comes from being focused on the outcome. If you're outcome focused, once you hit the outcome, your motivation to continue wanes and you stop, right? Whereas when you become process oriented, you continue to like to do these things, right? Like, practice becomes more about, what other cool things can I do? How many more people can I help? Like, what other changes to my community? It becomes more like I'm motivated to do those things versus, I'm more motivated or I'm less motivated now because I saw 200 people this week, or, and I think that's where the real growth starts to happen.
Yep. No, I think that all makes sense. It's good. And I think that, for those who listen to the episode, because we were asking if they were registering for the CrossFit Games or those
the same thing's true, right? The same principles are there.
It's the same principle here. So whether it's the CrossFit Games, whether it's, just finding a trainer who can do an assessment and then you can set forth a plan and then do a new assessment, a neurostructural chiropractor, a dietary coach, whatever it happens to be, all we're saying as a takeaway, guys, is have a standard. So whether that be you or probably in an ideal world, you and then a gold standard, since it's rare probably that we're the gold standard in anything. And that's not a bad thing. That's just the way that life is.
It's so true.
Right? I mean, there's only a very small handful of people who are going to be the gold standard in any particular area.
Of course.
Just know that, and I think it's a great attitude to have. There's always going to be somebody who's better, faster, stronger, smarter,
richer.
Yeah, in every way whatsoever. And so, once you, give up that strive and drive to be the absolute best at all costs, and I'm not saying you shouldn't try and improve and be better, but I think, that attachment to, being the best or it's a failure, I don't think that's a great mindset to be either. And that's where I think you've given a lot of great advice here, Krisha, about process orientation.
Well, let's just talk about the best for a second. In order to be the best, in order to be number one, there needs to be a lot of things that need to go into your favor, right? Like to be, I don't know, man, who's the best right now? Like to be Michael Jordan, not only do you have to work your face off, which is within your control, but you have to win the genetic lottery, which is outside of your control.
Yeah.
And you have to have the right things fall into place in life.
A lot of opportunities have to present themselves, and a lot of
100%,
some luck involved in that as well. So there's just a lot of things that are outside your control for sure.
Right. So, again, you can still be really good, but number one in the world or all time might not be where you're going to go.
Yeah, exactly. So take home, guys, process orientation, pay attention to the standard. Oh, somebody ripping down the street. Pay attention to the standard. That wasn't me bragging. That was actual legit car crash.
I thought you might have farted.
I did not. Pay attention to the standard. Have a comparison for yourself and do this across a lot of different domains. All right, guys, and better get out of here before all these cars start pulling up on me and making it difficult to listen. But thank you guys for listening in and dealing with my my location for today. I'm thankful that you're willing to deal with it, because I'm definitely willing to deal with it and have a great view.
Stop bragging, get off.
Now I'm bragging. So, guys, have a great day, and thank you for joining the drive to 1 million families worldwide living life by design.